So this Sunday is the last in our Lenten sermon series, and our topic is a very light one, greed. So the story I wanted to tell today is about that topic. It's a very old story, one told for thousands of years because of its wisdom. And it is about a king named Midas, who was a very kind man and ruled his kingdom fairly. He also loved and appreciated beautiful things, including his vast rose gardens. Now, one day, a man was walking through the kingdom, and he got tired. So he decided to sit down and take a nap in King Midas's garden. When the gardeners found him, however, he was asleep in the king's flowers, crushing them. And so they brought him into the king to explain what he had done. But the man ended up telling the king wonderful stories of all of these faraway lands and the beautiful things that he had seen there. And so Midas, enjoying his stories, decided to let him stay as a guest. The god Dionysus saw this kind action of the king and decided to reward Midas by granting him one wish. And so Midas, without much thought, said, "I wish that everything I touch would turn to gold." He loved beautiful, expensive things, after all, and he wanted more of them. So Midas went out into his kingdom to admire his flowers that were blowing in the breeze, much like outside this morning, and he touched one of his roses, and all of a sudden it froze into solid gold. Now, he was beside himself with joy, so excited. He walked around his palace touching everything so that it would turn into gold. And this was really wonderful until he got hungry. So he reached for a piece of fruit, and it turned to solid gold in his hands. Even the water in his cup turned to gold. Now, gold was wonderful, but he couldn't eat or drink it, could he? Days went by, and his despair grew. He was hungry and thirsty, and he couldn't even sleep because his pillow had turned into rock-solid gold. Even his beloved children, who hugged him, turned into golden statues. He realized that if this continued for much longer, his whole world would be gold and beautiful, but completely lifeless. And so he begged the god Dionysus to take back his wish and to return everything to how it had been before. Luckily, Dionysus took pity on him and granted his request. And all of a sudden, everyone came back to life, and everything started to move. And it was only then that Midas actually realized that this was what it was all about, that this was what really mattered, his family and his life that he had, and that was what made him really rich.
Wait a minute here. Wait just a minute.
What?
What kind of sense does this make to the kids in the room?
Well, I mean, the point of the story is what King Midas learned. That, sometimes we think we want more and more, but sometimes what we have is actually really valuable, and sometimes we have enough.
I mean, the kids here, next week, they're going to walk around. They're going to try to turn everything into chocolate.
Maybe. I'm not sure it'll work, though.
It probably won't work. It probably won't work. But what you're saying is, sometimes we have to realize that what we have is actually enough. Mm-hmm. Enough is a good word. Enough.
Yeah. The king learned that the hard way, but...
Yeah, that's interesting. That makes me remember something that happened last Easter during the Easter egg hunt. Did I tell you this story?
No.
There was a child in the congregation who had a basket after the egg hunt, inside the eggs are all kinds of chocolates and stuff. And the basket was just overflowing. And that child came up to me and said, "I want to give you some chocolate because I realized that I have enough."
Oh, nice.
That was nice, and it was tasty too. And
yeah,
and
that was very
they
kind
can
and
keep
generous.
doing that, right? Next
Yes.
week they can keep doing
Yes.
that.
That's a good lesson to take away.
But I think it's rare. It's rare, right? Like the Midas story tells us, sometimes we have to really think about what we have.
It's true.
That most of us have enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, now it makes
well,
sense.
On that
Thank
note,
you, Beth. Thank you. I
Thank you
just
for
wanted to
clarifying, Daniel. On that note, let's sing our children and their teachers to their classes. Go now in peace. The song is in the back cover of your gray hymnals.